Hi, this is Frank Shamrock, MMA legend, UFC superstar, and you're listening to MMA Crib Fighting Talk.
Gregory Stone, MMAcrypt.com. On today's show, we're speaking with MMA legend and the star of the latest Renato Laranja show, Mr. Frank Shamrock. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, Frank. Okay, to all the listeners at home, what I'll be doing on today's show is I'll be getting Frank's reaction to his appearance on the latest Renato Laranja show, where Renato was somewhat rude and disrespectful to Frank on many occasions. If you haven't listened to the interview already, I suggest you do after listening to this show. But let's get started on today's show, Frank. I want to start with the very beginning of your interview with Renato Laranja. He basically wanted to make you feel awkward from the very get-go. He basically pretended that you arranged an interview with your brother Ken Shamrock and made out that what you doing there? Hey, you here to support Ken? Yeah. Could you tell us what you was thinking when he began talking about where Ken is and making out you had an interview with Ken and not yourself?
Yeah, well, the funniest part is that happens all the time. Everywhere that I go, all over the world, people call me Ken, and people mistake me for, Ken, and I imagine the exact same thing happens to him. And he asked me about it. He's like, hey, you don't mind if I ask you about this? But I didn't think he'd be going that far with it and that I'd be Ken the whole time. But I thought it was funny. It's what really happens to me anyways on a basis. I'm either Frank or Ken, depending on who you meet.
So you mentioned there that he was, he let you know that he's going to talk about Ken, he's going to mock you a little bit with Ken, pretending that you Ken. Did you realise that he would go this far, all the way through the interview, with all the rest of the stuff he did?
No, because he's an artist, so whatever he studies or whatever he feels from me, that's where he goes. So he asked me in the beginning if there was anything that I was uncomfortable talking about, and I told him no. It's my life and my career and what I stand for and kind of what's going on is pretty much an open book. So the rest of it, he's welcome to have fun with. But once you get to a certain point, if you can't laugh at yourself and everything else going on, then you're way too serious.
Well, you say that, obviously he pre-warned you about some stuff. Had you ever seen any of Renato Laranja's previous material, like his previous interviews? Because he went pretty rough on Chris Lieben about the drug abuse, etc. So had you seen anything like that before? And was you sort of expecting that sort of scenario where he would really dig in deep on you?
Yeah, totally. Because, he's very professional and he's done his homework. So he's talking about real subjects, but in a ridiculously comedic way. So yeah, I mean, he goes deep and he makes fun of it, but they're all real, they're all real subjects. They're all real things that, are either important to me or important to other people. And that's where I think the reaction comes from. It's not so much that he's making fun of me. It's that he's making fun of, moments that are very sensitive to other people. And that, I think generally people are like, whoa, that's a touchy thing.
Well, you seem to get really pissed off at some point. Was that just acting by you, or did you actually just touch a nerve?
Well, no. So in the beginning, I was just playing along with it, but then as I realized, as the interview went on, that I should be getting mad at him.
Yeah.
I realized, if this were, because we're like in a little studio somewhere, like hanging out, it's like a couple of guys. If this were like a real show, I realized, at some point I'd be like, look, I don't want to be here anymore. So I started letting the anger, come in and be a part of it because, he was really annoying. Like the entire time, he was totally annoying. So I was legitimately mad at him and had anger towards the whole thing. And I just let it go because it was fun. It was a good time.
Was there any rehearsals beforehand? Like, obviously, you got to this building about an hour earlier and started doing a few rehearsals on anything, or did you basically just follow Renato's lead?
No, we just we sat down. He was very nice, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" And what's off topic, and what are you sensitive about? And I was like, "No, dude, I want to be a part of your show. I want to perform with you. So I was like, hit me. So we had we literally had like a beer. We like talked about fighting, jiu-jitsu, and then we started shooting. And then everything else is, what is just what happened in that moment.
But obviously, he talks about Henzo, kicking Henzo in the back of the head, etc. He was talking after it. He was stroking a picture of Henzo. Did you watch the interview back, and did you see him stroking Henzo's picture?
Yeah, it's so when we're shooting it, like we'd have these runs where we'd have great moments back and forth, and then we'd come to a natural break, and then when that natural break would happen, he would have those moments. He'd be like, oh, and this is where I'm gonna like stroke Henzo's head. And this is where I'm gonna like coddle him. And so yeah, what I liked about this show was he had a clear, fun vision about what he wanted to do. And then I got to be a part of it. I got to be mad at him. I was mad at him. I got to be made fun of. I got to, be a part of just the goofiness in the sport in this moment and in the history. And for me, that's what the show was about, to have a good time.
Was there anything that was cut out of the show that maybe like a little bit over the top? It was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't use that one. Maybe you just overreacted and really got pissed off, and it was like, hey, let's cut that one out. Maybe we shouldn't air that one. Was there anything that was deleted? Obviously, you watched the interview back. Was there anything deleted that you actually did and said on the show?
Nothing that I saw. The only thing that I got mad at him. So when he started talking about the eyepiece, I wanted to say to him, I wanted to explain to him that the way it's saying to me doesn't make sense, and it sounds like it's more better or whatever. But when I said it, I sounded like I was just not that intelligent. Like that was the only moment where I was like, wow, I just didn't sound good there. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was, that was me being me, and being in a position that I was uncomfortable being in, but also enjoying the entire experience.
Well, you talk about that you got pissed off, and you actually knew that he was going to come at you. It's sort of like a roasting in a way. They call it a roast in America. And basically, do you think in the future he does this with other fighters? Like, you mentioned that he was going to have Ken on the show. No, you're a bit more laid back than Ken. Well, a lot more laid back than Ken. I'm pretty sure Ken might have gone up and strangled him at some point. Do you sort of think that there's a good possibility that someone might actually attack him in the future?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I definitely see, and I think that's part of the show. And it's like the old talk show, where they just keep, kind of digging until you just lose it. And but done in a fun, comedic way, I think it's entertaining because, I mean, I was mad at him in the first 5 minutes. I was like, okay, the shtick is good, this is fun, but it's like, okay, now it's getting annoying. But he's so good at it. He's so good at it, and he's so good at parodying, society and these sort of weird moments that we're uncomfortable with. And then when you laugh at it because you're uncomfortable about this other moment, you sort of realize you're uncomfortable for another reason.
Well, is that the first time you've ever been called Ricky the Dragon Steamboat there, Frank?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And it was good. Like, it was funny. And a couple of the things he said, I was like, okay, I'm mad at him for saying this, but it's also funny. And I had a hard time, being mad and not laughing because I was also, I was enjoying the comedic moments that happened. And he's so quick. A lot of the stuff I could tell he made up on the spot because of where we were going and sort of what we were talking about.
Well, you mentioned that you're somewhat prepared. I noticed at the end of the interview you were sort of like pretty speechless because he was twisting and turning everything that you said around. It was like you said that what was it about the women? Women have a certain place, and he turned it into like women that got free holes, etc. and all the Fallon Fox thing. And it was like you just sort of gave up. You looked like you was on the couch, like I don't even know what to say now. Did he sort of leave you speechless at the end, like, geez, I just give up now?
Totally, and I think it's designed that way. He has a series of questions that sort of, make you trip over yourself and sort of, fall down in the last moment. And I totally fell victim to it because I was angry and I was, frustrated and I was, entertained. I was comedic at the same time. So yeah, when he drops those, little quick questions, you're not ready for what they are. So what you say is completely jacked. And it didn't come out that good, but it was funny.
Well, it sounds like you're a fan of the Renato Laranja show now, Frank. Will you be tuning in for future episodes of the Renato Laranja show?
Yeah, for sure. I signed up to his YouTube channel, and I like what he's doing. I mean, I'm afraid someone's going to knock his teeth out, but in the meantime, it's incredibly funny and entertaining.
If you could pick an MMA fighter or anyone involved in mixed martial arts to go on his show as a future guest, who would you pick, just for sheer entertainment value? Just someone who you think he could really mesh well with, or really get under the skin and provoke a reaction from.
Well, I mean, just knowing Ken, I think he should be the absolute next guest or a reoccurring guest. I don't know how good that is for the host, but Ken's like, he's like a 2 strikes and you're out guy. There's no, once you, he's like, okay, here's the line. Once you cross it, that's it. So it would be interesting to see what he does. But he's also so talented. He knows what to give and take from the talent to push them as far as they can go. So I would be interested to see, if they can get through a show.
I think if Ken went on the show, the bookmakers would open up some odds on whether Ken would actually hit Renato at some point in the show. well, would
That'd
you
be
ever
good. And I think, any of the old school guys.
Sorry, Frank, we keep getting a delayed reaction. Go on.
I was going to say, I think any of the old school guys, because I think the old school guys were more of, the sort of fighting in the moment and the kind of the passion fight. So I think a lot of those old school guys that have a harder time, dealing with this sort of modern, entertainment reality where, we're picking on each other, but you can't punch the guy in the neck, to sort of settle it.
Would you ever go back on the Renato Laranja show, sort of rematch him, this time really try and take it to him and actually make a fool of him if you can?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to go back to it. It's nothing I totally enjoyed it. For me, it was I knew I was going to get beat up. It was like when I fought Phil Baroni and my knee was blown out. It's like, the odds of me surviving this and being 100% are like almost zero. So I went in knowing I'm here to get beat up, and let's have a good time with it. So yeah, next time I'd have a lot more fun. I think I could, really. I think I could turn some words around on him and have some fun. But it's his shtick, and I just enjoyed the experience. In a fist fight, I would just destroy him, and that's all that matters to me.
Well, there's an intelligent fighter out there who could really put it to him, like back to him, and try and defeat him at his own game. Who do you think it would be? I think Joe Rogan's pretty smart. Obviously, he's not a fighter, he's a commentator, but Joe Rogan's pretty smart with the mouth. I think he'll do a good job against him. But he's friends with Joe Rogan, obviously. There's an old video of them, Eddie Bravo, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a matter of deciding which role you want to play. It's like, if you accept the position of being roasted, then, you kind of let the punches roll off you and you sort of do that thing. If you don't accept it, then you prepare and then you sort of, do a 1-for-1 type scenario. When I went into it, I didn't look at it as
Well, it seems like we lost connection with Frank there. Did try and get back in contact with Frank. We was having some difficulties, so it looks like we're not able to finish off the interview with Frank Shamrock. But there's only 2 questions left anyway, what I wanted to ask Frank. I'll let you know those questions now. The first question I wanted to ask Frank was what he did with the toothbrush, what Renato gave him. Renato gave him a toothbrush at the end, mocking him about his teeth, obviously, through the show. So I wanted to know what he did with that toothbrush, if he still had it, whether he threw it away, whether he left it at the set where Renato was. And the final question was, obviously, because he was getting roasted and he was facing a lot of insults, I wanted to know the biggest insult that Frank Shamrock had ever received in his life. So, didn't get those 2 answers, but still a good interview, and I hope you all enjoy. As always, thank you for watching the show, guys. It's greatly appreciated. And from the MMA Fighting Talk Show, thank you for watching.